In a world of shills and unreliable movie reviews, it's hard to find the truth before investing your time into a film. So now, we're going to judge who's telling the truth or who's out of touch with reality. It's time to review the critics. Just when we thought funny actors were done trying to scare us, Jim Halpert gives us one more nod to the camera and pranks us all like we're a bunch of shrews. John Krasinski steps in front and behind the camera to bring us the biggest, scariest, quietest movie of 2018, wowing both critics and audiences overall. But wait, why is his masterpiece not a perfect score? Let's look at the 4% of critics who rated A Quiet Place with a Rotten Tomato. Joanne Laurier from World Socialist website gave A Quiet Place a rotten score. She says, "A Quiet Place is a sleep-inducing movie that strains credulity. For a movie that's about silence, it's actually pretty loud considering the many jump scares and constant tension." As a movie critic, it's good to know you're sleeping on the job. Joanne goes on to say, "Family is the be-all and end-all, and love of a family is the cure-all." Okay, I understand that the family first message can be trite and sappy in most movies.
Where there's love, there's family.
But John Krasinski and his family are practically the only ones in the whole movie. What does this woman want to see? Everyone for themselves? Moving on to PJ Nabarro from Patrick Nabarro. He says that after a promising opening, the holes in the film's conceit and its general flimsiness become increasingly problematic. By holes, I assume he's talking about a family's ability to not make a sound for such a long length of time, especially when the cameras are off. Like, how do you have explosive diarrhea without being heard? But to get back to PJ, he must not be aware that virtually every horror movie, or even every movie in general, have loopholes. I mean, he didn't call bullshit on The Sixth Sense, which is just one giant loophole. Doesn't Bruce Willis think it's strange that no one ever answers his phone calls? And how does he think he got Cole's mom's permission to meet with him? PJ needs to be a little bit more consistent. A.S. Hamra from N+1 says, "A Quiet Place may be reactionary, but it only wants to be entertainment, the same way Affleck and Gibson movies do." Hey, you leave Mel out of this. Without him, I wouldn't have known squat about the Aztecs and Mayans because I fell asleep in that class at school. Jay Olson from Cinemix Tape says, "The inanities it requires of its characters are pushing it, even for a monster movie." I mean, this is one of the few monster movies where the characters aren't actually pursuing the monster, unlike almost every other monster.
What do they got in there, King Kong?
$10,000 for me by myself. For that you get the head, the whole damn thing.
Down here, you big horse's ass! Come and get me before I call the police!
Cole Smithy from ColeSmithy.com is perhaps the harshest critic, going out of his way to convince people not to see it. He says, "Don't believe the hype." Let's start there. Whenever someone says, "Don't believe the hype," they're admitting that even though they're the minority, they're right, and virtually everyone else is wrong. If I had a segment for the funniest review, it would be for Sean Burns from Spliced Personality. Now, although he did give Quiet Place a rotten score, his review is worthy enough to be shared in a positive light. He says, if he, John Krasinski's character, really loved his family so much, he would have pulled out. I mean, he has a point. What were they thinking bringing a baby into this post-apocalyptic world? Who's planning on holding him when he cries? Won't the parents get eaten too? And how did they even conceive in a world where you're not allowed to make any noise?
What are our plans for tonight?
James Vernier from Boston Herald says that A Quiet Place is with serious credibility issues and too many jump-in-your-face moments. So what he's essentially saying is that he doesn't want any actual scary moments in his horror films. Got it. Kyle Smith from National Review says, it's merely straight up horror that drops you right into the situation. For me, he says, that's not enough. So, he wants to watch a horror movie from afar? Charles Koplinski from Illinois Times says, Quiet Place's faulty logic it's undoing.
A Jedi craves not these things.
John DeFore from Hollywood Reporter gave the movie a fresh score, saying, even moviegoers who don't accept the metaphor are going to have the pants scared off them. I'm not quite sure what the metaphor is, but if your pants do happen to scare off you, Sean Burns would sure appreciate it if you pulled out right away. And the winner for the most honest review goes to, and let's not forget that 96% of the critics were spot on, so I have to pick just one. Brian Tellerico from RogerEbert.com. He calls A Quiet Place a tight thrill ride, the kind of movie that quickens the heart rate and plays with expectations of the audience while never treating them like idiots. In other words, it's a really good horror movie.